Hello and welcome to another motorcycling video. As you can see by the title, this one's called Taking a Ride on a Sunday, and in fact I took this ride on Sunday the 14th of January. A few days later when I'm recording the audio, and if you follow my videos at all, you know that I don't have an in-helmet microphone, so I record the audio later using a microphone that I plug into the computer. Hopefully what I'm talking about matches up with what you're seeing and is of sufficient interest for you to stay listening and watching throughout the duration. So I've left my house and I was on the way to Cataract Gorge, which is a well-known landfall in Launceston in Tasmania. In fact, prior to the opening of Mania, it was the most famous tourist attraction in Tasmania. It's caused by, or its formation is created by the mountain forming movements of the cliffs on either side of it, I suspect, and also by the erosion created by the South-Esk River as it comes through that gorge. So I started off riding from my house to there. There are two ways to access the gorge. One is from the eastern side, but I live on the western side of the river, the Tamar River that is, and so it's reasonably close to where I live to get there. So just passing through this roundabout down here I'm coming to now, and then heading up towards the gorge past Trevallyn Public School, or Trevallyn Primary School as they're called in Tasmania. Coming up is a very important safety tip, that is, pay attention to the road and pay attention to the speed limit. You'll see why in the next moment or two, so I won't explain it to you too much. The road curves just up here. And I was just about to go straight through into the entrance to the gorge when a car was coming down the other way. Both of us were doing all the right things and obeying all the road rules, and I was going according to the speed limit, and I'm sure the person in the other car was also driving according to the speed limit. But even allowing for all those things, there are still going to be times when accidents can happen. So, pay attention to the road. As a motorcyclist, wear all your safety gear and so on, things I've said many times before. And people in cars, please keep an eye out and expect to see motorcyclists on the road, especially in spring and summer. This time of the year, expect to see motorcyclists out because it's perfect weather for motorcycling, and keep your eyes out for them. We do our best to make ourselves visible, but nevertheless, even the bike I'm riding here, which is the Suzuki Bergman 650 executive scooter, it's a fairly large scooter, but even it is relatively small in comparison with even the smallest car, and if there's going to be any sort of collision, I'm going to come off second best. So drivers of cars, just keep your eyes open for us. So I'm travelling up, I'm not sure what this road is called now, it might be Gorge Road, or up and down, because you can see it takes a sharp bend here, and there's a couple of really nice twisties here, take you down to the car park where at the top of Cataract Gorge at the Maple Steps, I think they're called. I then went for a walk around the gorge and made a video of the gorge, which if I remember when I upload this video, I'll put a link in the description too, so you can see that. I think the video makes it appear as if I'm travelling a little bit faster than I actually am. I'm sure I'm travelling according to the speed limit here. Now, for those people who are coming to Tasmania at any stage and thinking of visiting Cataract Gorge, the advantage of visiting it from the Trevallyn side where I am is that the parking is free. On the other side of the gorge, on the eastern side, there is lots more parking, but it's pay parking. Now, it's not expensive parking, but nevertheless, if you come here on a holiday and you're on a budget, then paying parking is an extra expense perhaps you didn't anticipate. I should say that just about everywhere in Launceston is paid parking. There are meters everywhere, most of which you require a phone app to pay for. So I parked at the gorge there, did my walk around and did my video, and now I'm just setting off out of the gorge, going back exactly the same way I came. You can see even cars here parked up on the slope, because that car park is quite small and fills up. I should say, if you're coming to the gorge, the area in the first basin, which is that area that is just below where I was parked, no dogs are allowed in that area at all, unfortunately. There are walking trails above the gorge where you can take your dog, but you can't bring your dog into the gorge, which is unfortunate, but I think it is for the protection of wildlife, and also because some people don't clean up after their dogs and leave mess. In the gorge there are peacocks, and the peacocks can be quite, I wouldn't say savage, but they're quite aggressive when it comes to food. So if you're eating and the peacocks are around, they will come up and just take the food straight out of your hand, and are not by any means intimidated by people. So coming up out of the gorge, and then I went down through Trevallyn to the King's Bridge, which you'll see coming up a little later, so that I could take a video of the entrance to the gorge. So at the moment I'm just coming up that road that I obviously came down a little bit early, going out through the main entrance here now. This road takes you past the school, as I mentioned, it's on the right hand side just here. On the left hand side is the Trevallyn Cricket Oval. Rather than give you a blow by blow and moment by moment account of this drive, I'll move on to talk about something else for a moment, and that is price drops that I have observed in several brands of electric vehicles in particular, but also traditional or legacy type or petrol vehicles as well. What prompted me to think about this for a moment is that I noticed that GWM, that is Great Wall Motors, that is the Chinese motor company, or the motor company from China that makes Great Wall, they also make an electric vehicle called the Aura, O-R-A. It comes in a couple of variants, and in some countries it's known as the Aura, the base model is known as the Aura Funky Cat. Now recently Great Wall decided to reduce the price of the base model Aura to increase sales. Now you can understand that's what they're doing there and why they do it. It's the company's right to sell the vehicle at whatever price they want, and their job is to sell motor vehicles. And they'll never say it. Once they've sold their motor vehicle to you and got your money, they're not all that interested in you, especially in these days of capped price or fixed price servicing, and servicing is being once a year or even less frequently in the case of some electric vehicles. So they've got to get the money out of you from the sale of the vehicle. Now this vehicle I think was going for something like 38 or 39 grand, and they recently reduced the price by $4,000. That's an awful big price drop, and in doing so they made it the cheapest EV on the Australian market. And all of those people who were thinking about maybe buying an EV and thought, well, I'll just get an Aura now because it's $4,000 cheaper than it was, it's a bonus for them. Absolutely no doubt it's a bonus for them that the price has been reduced by $4,000. But consider this fact: all the people who bought a car even the day before the price drop, but in the month before, the week before, the year before, any time before that price drop, their vehicles are now worth considerably less than what they expected them to be as on resale or on trade-in. So let's suppose you bought one even a day before the price drop, or a month or a week, as I say, and in a year's time you think, oh, I'm going to trade this in 2 years or 3 years' time, you would expect that it depreciated somewhere between 48 and 52% or thereabouts, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but so it might have held about 50% of its value. So that, let's say, if you paid $39,000 for it, you would expect to get about $18,000 or thereabouts for a trade-in, depending on how well you looked after it, how many kilometres were on it, what battery degradation and so on. So you might have got a bit more than 18,000, you might have got a bit less than 18,000, but you would have reasonably expected to get something around that price. Now, if you can now buy a new car for $4,000 less than you previously could, in other words, $36,000, the depreciation on that after let's say the depreciation is around 50% after 4 years, your vehicle is now worth $4,000 less. And so I noticed that a couple of the higher car companies in the United States, Hertz, I believe, another one called Sixt, S-I-X-T, who had a huge fleet of electric vehicles, dumping all their electric vehicles. They're doing so for two reasons. One is they say that Tesla continually reducing the price of their vehicles, or playing around with the price of their vehicles in order to boost sales, has devalued the resale value of their fleet. And also they say that because of insurance premiums and the tendency of insurance companies to write off EVs after even the smallest accident, and therefore increase premiums, these higher car companies are saying, well, it's just not worth the money. It doesn't make any economic sense for us to have electric vehicles in our fleet. We're paying more for them. We're paying a premium for them, even though we're negotiating a deal for 100,000 cars or whatever it is. And as soon as we buy those cars, Tesla reduced the price by $4,000 or $3,000 or whatever it is. So that devalues what we've already paid for. But on top of that, the car has a small dingle. It might even have a small, scratch bump in the fender or whatever. And the insurance company, concerned that the integrity of the battery may be compromised, decide to write off the vehicle rather than risk a thermal runaway. So because the vehicle is written off, the insurance company looks at Hertz and says, well, you have a large number of your vehicles have been written off, and because of that, we are now increasing your premiums by X amount. Now, in the case of the individual purchaser, perhaps that doesn't happen, but what does happen, as I say, is if you have paid a premium, paid the price as advertised for your vehicle, and then a week later the price is reduced by $4,000, you're kicking yourself and cursing and saying, why didn't I wait a week and get a $4,000 discount? But you've also got $4,000 less value in your car. Well, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed my little tour down around up to Cataract Gorge and then down to the King's Bridge. Got a bit of a tour of Launceston, or the suburbs around Launceston where I live, just on my way back home now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to comment on any aspect of it that you like, and I'll talk to you again when I'm preparing a new video.